Everyone. Before I start, I'll request my panelists to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I am Ajay Kumar, Chief Purchasing Officer at MT-AutoCraft. Over a decade in procurement and supply chain of automotive industry, I have worked with leading OEMs like Maruti Suzuki, Honda, Toyota, Sonalika Tractors and EV Disruptor. So my entire journey has been to be automotive. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Ashish Mendiratta. I have roughly about 3 decades of experience. Worked with companies like Gillette, Nestle, Philips, Kohler, in the areas of procurement and supply chain, integrated supply chain. For last 10 years, I've been helping the organization develop their supply chain capabilities and competencies.
Thank you. My name is Kirat, and I'm privileged and honored to share this dais with all the procurement leaders. I don't know much about procurement. I'm more logistics and supply chain guy. But yeah, I've been more than 1.5 decades into supply chain. My new role is part of heading Asia Pacific supply chain for Vantive. Our products are largely deals with patient care and therapies that are critical for their kidney and kidney functioning. Thank you.
Good evening, guys. My name is Shilpa Prashar. I come from Air India Express. Having experience of 20 years in sourcing, procurement, and indirect procurement, and happy to be part of this, panel, and hope to share insights with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. So as you can see that we have the panelists in this panel from different industries. So we bring the perspective from various industries. Also the part of supply chain which we are going to talk about is actually extending beyond the organization, right? So we have spoken, or all of us have heard since morning about the supply chain in terms of logistics, planning, manufacturing, and some part of supplier bit in some of these sessions. But as we know that supply chain, one part is our own, and second is the extended supply chain. So what has happened is that we know the way supply chain has evolved. Similarly, even the purchasing, which used to be called in the earlier days, has also evolved over a period of time. It has become a procurement. It is no more just buying goods and services at the lowest cost. It is actually a business partner in terms of whether you are doing innovation, whether you are looking at business continuity. And this is what we are going to be talking about, is the sustainability, technology, and supply resilience in more details in these 3 aspects. So to start with, in terms of the context, I'll ask my panelists in terms of first, how they see the procurement function evolving, because currently the kind of environment we have in the global perspective, whether the geopolitical issues or regulatory issues, the technological advancement. So what kind of advancement and evolution they look at procurement, starting from Ajay, from the automotive sector?
So in my experience, the procurement of automotive industry is evolving rapidly due to high volatility, supply chain disruptions like one we faced in early 2020 due to semiconductor shortages, rising cost, and then stringent government norms like BIS on steel are the key challenges areas which automotive industry is facing as of now. To overcome this, I think procurement must focus on building resilience, strategic partnerships, and adopt technologies like AI and ML to enhance efficiency. The fact is that it is just no more about sourcing now, but it is about driving innovations and building a future-ready supply chain.
Thank you, Ajay. So may I ask Shilpa now to add this perspective, because it's a very different industry from the services side, and she comes from Air India Express. So if you can throw some perspective from that.
So before I start, just want to clarify the views here are personal. It does not represent my company's, point of view. So coming back to the question which has been put up, it's very different when I started my career and what I'm doing now is totally different. It's a game changer. And someone said accidentally people used to get into procurement. Same thing happened with me. I'm an economics graduate. I started working with a market research agency because I used to play with numbers. I was handling quant numbers. I happened to be in procurement because I was a little good with the Excel that time. So that gave me an edge to be in procurement, do the CBAs and get good, brownie points in eyes of my manager. So that is where it started. Coming back to now, it's totally different. I've been to recently Symbiosis, Operations Management College, and there I found kids who are so good right now. I am learning Power BI, I'm learning different tools, and these kids are learning day and night. They are playing with numbers. So you can imagine what supply chain is now, what it was earlier. So definitely it's a big change which I can see and I can share. What I can sense is in the coming time we are going to have, very nice procurement people, and definitely I see them, the kids being CEO or somewhere CPOs, being there in that position. So definitely it's changed. It's changed for good. And the best part is people are, understanding the importance of supply chain. So supply chain, it's as important as finance function of any organization. We are the one window of the company which spends the money. Finance is one window which manages the money. So it's very important function, and the kind of, organizations I have worked with, this function is given utmost importance. So,
No, thank you, Shilpa. It's very enlightening. Then coming to Ashish, because you interact with multiple industry stakeholders, so what kind of trends you see evolving over a period of time?
Yeah, so, we've been working with different clients, different companies across different industries, be it engineering, chemicals, agrochemicals, right, FMCG, right? So, if I talk about 10 years before, when we started working with different organizations, the whole focus was, how do we minimize cost? What are the different avenues where we can optimize the cost, or we can bring down the total cost, to the, better than the competitors, right? So over the last few years, and especially after COVID, right, I've been seeing a big change. Nobody is talking about, the cost, because when somebody talks about the cost, we say, the lowest cost always comes with some hidden cost, right? Lowest cost is never the lowest cost in reality. So, but yeah, the companies have understood, the impact of purely single-handedly focusing on cost to looking at a much wider, broader view. Now they're talking about, can you help us, formulate the strategy in procurement? How do we train our people to think more strategic, rather than being transactional, right? So that is one change which we have seen. The other areas, where companies are now looking at is the use of technologies, in procurement. I think if you compare supply chain, downstream side versus the procurement side, procurement is sort of lagging, in use of technology, right? But slowly they are now also willing to catch up, So, we conducted one full program of awareness on Procurement 4.0 for the company, which is actually, providing, bidding solutions for the clients, right? So there is a greater need for adoption of technologies. The third area is, collaboration with suppliers, right? Because when we, discuss with the clients, we talk about the 4 pillars in sourcing, right? One is demand management. The second one is the total cost management. The third one is the supplier relationship management. And fourth one is the risk management, right? So the supplier relationship management and the risk management are on the topmost priorities of the companies, right? So how do we, build procurement, solutions, which are more resilient and, which are future-proof, because I think people have suffered a lot during COVID time and after that. So I think these are the major trends that what we see, and it will, going to evolve further over the next few years.
No, thank you, Ashish. In fact, Prashar mentioned in earlier session that you're treating suppliers like partners. So in fact, the progressive organizations that I have also seen, they don't even like to call them as suppliers. They want to call them as business partners. So the kind of thing you talked about, collaborative partnership, in fact, it has really got advanced in the last 2 to 3 years after COVID. people have started realizing that it is not one part of supply chain. We need to look at the extended supply chain as well. So Kirat, coming to you, that even in terms of logistics, the procurement comes in terms of indirect procurement. So how do you see some of these use of technology, looking at logistics service providers as the kind of partners? So what kind of trends you see there?
I think first of all, I will echo what Ashish just mentioned, like how every organization has evolved, and because we also have manufacturing setup and our products deal into end care, patient care therapies. This is how the mindset evolution has happened for any organization which deals into manufacturing and services, because for us, our patients we are providing them services as well while we're providing them therapies. I think the mindset has shifted where we now see all our suppliers as our strategic partners. So it's not just transactional. I think it's more strategic now. And the key was, I think and me and Ashish have been in touch for long years now, part of the scale group, how it evolved. But no one was talking risk management, right? When you used to go to procurement, it's about how are you managing supplier relationship, what you are doing to build new vendors. The new vendor was more on either on new product that they want to bring in, or it's the competitive cost. I wouldn't say cheap, but yeah, I think that was every procurement manager was supposed to get the most competitive cost because he or she is delivering to the P&L. So no one was talking risk management, like why do we need to look at risk management as an important aspect while you do any supplier qualification? And I think some of the leaders in this room would understand who have been wired to think across that it's not just cost and service, it's also about the risk management. Because of the nature of your product, what happens if your product is, if your line is not running for 5 days, you know what happens, right? And if you're dealing with a product which is also linked to a life of a patient or a user who is doing a surgery somewhere, how critical that becomes of stopping your manufacturing line for 5 days. And that's how I think what COVID taught us. And a lot of the organizations started looking at the business continuity plan. And part of business continuity plan was looking at these suppliers, looking at all your supplier pool, and looking at all the risk management we need to do. And that's where I think we started to have linking into technology. Like there was, we have done a lot of automation within ourselves, within our own network. But there has been very limited investment of making sure our technologies are talking to our suppliers and our service providers. And this is where I think blockchain and digital twins have had come into relevance, where now it is so important for me to make sure the same set of signals and visibility is being provided upstream and not just limited to downstream. We are very focused on downstream. My customers should have all the information. There should be complete visibility on shipment tracking, TMS, but no one was looking at the upstream piece. So I think this is where it has evolved. The digital twin has brought into reason why there needs to be a strong connection of technology across the value chain. And this is where I think eventually the predictive supply chain that we have now started hearing, it's not reactive or proactive, it's predictive supply chain. So we are getting into a space where the tools and AI and blockchain will help you to do the modeling, the scenario building that you will do. And it will only happen once you know everything, all that information that you get from your suppliers as well. You need to have your upstream supply chain connected all through your downstream. So all these signals flow, and that's how the systems and these technology will be able to preempt you on what you need to do to have those prediction in the supply chain. So, and it works for all supply chain. Eventually, I don't think so a healthcare supply chain leader is different from anyone who is, whether it's in an automotive industry or even a FMCG industry, right? So maybe they're losing business because of products out of stock, but we lose patient lives, irrespective, right? So we are all here to run the business, and if we don't make these processes efficient enough, we're all going to suffer.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kirat, for that. Just to add to that, like you mentioned, in the morning, Venu was talking about product out of stock, right? The criticality of product out of stock could be very different in different industries. So like you mentioned about healthcare. Similarly, from my experience, when I moved from FMCG to food services, like I moved from PepsiCo to Domino's, I used to believe that PepsiCo is like the ultimate because it's a very instantaneous kind of a substitution, right? But then I realized that in Domino's, I don't have even the layer of retailer and distributor inventory. When I'm actually servicing 1,800 restaurants and I need to have that ingredient there, if it is not there, you will lose sales immediately, right? So every industry has a different kind of a risk profile, but risk is definitely there. So coming to the sustainability part, which we have spoken since morning in different contexts, now it is very, very important that how do we take care of sustainability in the extended supply chain. So talking to Ajay about it, that if you can throw what you are doing, what is happening in automotive space.
So we have started adding sustainability into our supplier selection criteria. The one person who are from automotive industry will understand that we used to evaluate supplier on QCDDM, quality, cost, delivery, development and management. Now we are expanding it to QCDDMS, wherein we are adding sustainability as a critical parameters. So we have identified few key metrics like energy reductions, waste eliminations, then ethical labor practices as the key parameter for sustainability.
Thanks, Ajay. Coming to Ashish, that what kind of trend you see and how people are able to metricize some of these, right? Because sustainability is becoming a very important aspect of supplier selection.
Yeah.
But is there any framework, is kind of matrices people have developed, and how do they rate? And so if you can throw some kind of perspective on that.
I can share my experience as a, because we are also suppliers, right? Because we are providing services and technology to the companies. So when we get registered as suppliers, and also periodically when we are, providing repeated services, what kind of experience we go through, right? So first of all, companies have even broadened their, view from sustainability. They are calling it more like a responsible sourcing and responsible procurement, right? Which is sustainability plus the social impact plus, the ethics and compliance, right? So it is gone beyond that. And when we get, like we have to register as a supplier, we have to, fill a lot of information, as a supplier, what we are doing in terms of, being sustainable. Are we, having any impact on the environment? How about, people that we employ, whether we pay, minimum wages. Some companies are even talking about not even minimum wages, they're talking about living wages, right? There's a difference between the minimum wages and living wages, right? So they have started asking this question, whether we are complying. And if we are complying, then we have to give them the proof, right? Some sample, so there is a lot of, due diligence which is happening on that front. And when I go and talk to some of these, procurement teams, why have you started doing all these things, right? So there's a very simple answer. Look, again, if today, we are living in a world where, everybody is having all the information available at the click of a button or, pressing, on any kind of report, right? So, when anything goes wrong in a, supplier setup, and it comes in media, right? It's not only the supplier who will be, feeling the impact or the heat of, any such information or news. It is also be linked to, the companies to whom they are providing the services, right? So, that is the major, concern the companies have, that look, in the current, age of information, when the information spreads like fire, and that's why we see a lot of misinformation going around in the social media, right? It can do a big harm to the organization and the companies, right? Who are, the customers and buying those goods, products, services, anything, right? So this is the trend which I'm seeing, across all the companies. I don't know to what extent, they are doing because of the fear, because of the, whatever damage it can do, or maybe, the compliance requirement. But this is something which is happening, across most of the global organizations, big organizations. So, the responsible sourcing is a big objective, So for every procurement function, they have to go beyond cost, delivery, and, the other parameters that you mentioned, to make sure that whatever they do, it is, done with the responsibility, be it the responsibility for environment, social impact, or ethics and compliance.
So Ashish, you brought very important perspective to this whole discussion of sustainability and responsible sourcing, because it's not only about doing the right thing, but it's also linked to the brand protection. Because it reminds me of an incident a couple of years back. There was a large global corporation, and there was a news article that they are buying palm oil from the field which are not ethical in Malaysia and Indonesia, and it was a big issue. So I can understand the perspective which you are sharing very.
Yeah, and the other major one was the Apple, right? Foxconn, right? Fiasco which happened.
Yeah. So I don't want to name the specific company, but yeah, you are right.
It's in public domain.
Yeah,
So
you are right that the responsible sourcing and sustainability is not only the right thing to do, but it is very, very important for the brand protection as well. So moving on to Shilpa, that from your industry perspective, how do you kind of incentivize suppliers while you obviously have a supplier selection process, but you would also be having existing suppliers? So how do you incentivize them to move to the sustainable practices, and how do you kind of measure that?
So what we are doing as an organization is our basic criteria to onboard vendor is some few parameters which we keep in mind. So we try to onboard vendors who are ethically, morally, regulatory point of view, they are all well qualified, who are bringing in that kind of system with them, wherein we are totally confident that what kind of business we are doing with them and what are the kind of vendors we are having with us. So as far as incentivization is concerned, we are very with Tata Group, I need not say, we respect every vendor like anything. And once vendor is working with us, we have vendors who have been with, associated with us for the past years and years. So that itself, showcases the group's, credibility and group's attitude towards this thing. And coming back to the sustainability, I just wanted to highlight, it's a very overhyped term right now. And actually the solution lies with us. It lies with us, and I realized this thing big way during the time of COVID when we were ordering things at home. And what I used to do, I used to just, put the boxes in my basement. For 1 month, I kept on doing, and in a month end, I had a pile of boxes, bubble film and all those kind of things. Because even if you order grocery, dal, vegetable, everything, you have a poly bag. So it starts with us, and then that time I realized our grandparents, the kind of, they were actually having a fully sustainable system. One cloth if is bought, till the time it is made pocha, they used to use it. So that is actually, jokes apart, that is a kind of, sustainable life they had, and we have kind of lost it. So with this 10-minute thing coming in, I'm ordering 3 times in a week. So the kind of packaging I'm getting, it's just taking us nowhere. So I think it has to start from us. And I've seen a number of movements which are happening. I see it in media, people wearing green t-shirt with white save tree. After the procession is done, they're going to Domino's, eating pizza in a cardboard box. Where is my sustainability factor is there? So we have to actually start. It has to start from every individual, every home. We have to change our lifestyle in case we want to, really implement this thing. So this is my take on sustainability, and it's very personal, but this is, I'm being very honest, but it has to start from every individual, because I don't think, the way temperature is rising and we have landfills piling up. We really have to, buckle up and try sorting this out now.
No, very interesting that we're saying that start practicing before we preach, right? So very interesting. So Kirat, moving to your industry now, I know healthcare, obviously the availability is critical, and it's a lot of technological development happening there as well. But do you see the sustainability trends also coming in there?
I think for us, sustainability started with carbon footprint reduction. The other reason was because some of our products also has an impact on, and it's like because of, if you see all hospital protocols, they they follow through a disposition process, and there is pollution norms that they need to follow. So I think this is how we started partnering with them to be more responsible organization and see what can we do in the same space, at least making sure disposition of our products is happening in a manner which is not impacting the environment. So this is how it started. From a supply chain perspective, we keep doing, I think Umesh is here, he has done a lot of work on sustainability, and so has other leaders, carbon footprint reduction. There are a lot of initiatives that the whole organization work on. But I like what Ashish mentioned is again on the responsible part of the supply chain, what you do in terms of your vendor evaluation, your supplier qualification, how you make sure sustainability becomes part of all these parameters. Because it's important that you have cost, service, and all these other parameters included. But I think it's the first step is you include sustainability as an important marker or a parameter in all these qualifications. And that's how the conversation starts. And I'm sure when you meet suppliers and you meet service partner, business partners, you get so enlightened in what space they are in, what they're doing. And sometimes it's not just what they're doing now, but it's also about their vision on what they have plans in terms of contributing to overall being responsible in terms of the social responsibility as well, because our industry is very labor intensive in many parts of the world. Not everywhere we have a lot of automation. So it's important we also ensure the well-being of our employees, the laborers who are coming out at the factories, and whole lot to do with the green sustainability as well. So all these parameters are important, and I think this debate also is, and internally we also keep debating like how is going to make small difference. Like if you add 5 points to supplier evaluation on sustainability, it doesn't make a huge swing on selection. But I think it's a mindset shift when everyone looks at that there is a sustainability parameter included in the supplier qualification, then this is how you start shifting the mindset. And I'm sure this parameter from 5 or 10 basis points would in some point in time become more than 50 basis points.
No, thank you so much. You made very interesting, strong points. I also learned a couple of them. Is that one is that the sustainability, the journey is not overnight thing. Second is we need to partner with supplier, not just put a mandate. And third is that how do we also learn from them, because some of the suppliers may be doing probably better than us. So really nice for that. So moving on to technology. Now technology, I know from morning we have been talking about AI, and AI is something which everyone is talking. So here I will just say that AI is definitely there, but technology is not only AI, right? And especially in case of procurement, we have seen the blockchain can have a lot of use cases in terms of traceability. The technology can be in different parts of procurement, whether it is in terms of supplier relationship management, whether in terms of end-to-end supply chain visibility, enabling traceability. So there could be different kind of use cases in various parts of procurement. So starting again with Ajay, that what kind of leveraging of technology you are doing, and how do you see your suppliers adapting to the new technological trends?
I'll answer it in 2 parts. One is what are we doing, and then what we expect from our suppliers. AI and ML implementation on full scale is still on the horizon, honestly. Nowadays, what we see a trend shifting toward technologies that give immediate benefits. So I'll quote examples like automated vision inspection methods. So for better quality controls, then we have advanced ERPs for, integrated data and streamlined operations. Then IoTs for real-time data monitoring. So these are the transformations which are happening in the automotive industry. So we have integrated, I'll give an example. So we have made an portal. So this we adopted from Maruti Suzuki. So what Maruti Suzuki did is to have a visibility of finished goods stock at their suppliers end. So suppose there is a disruption in one part, and Maruti cannot make shift desire tomorrow. So they have to make some other vehicle to compensate the production loss. So how do they cater the part requirement of increased volume quickly for tomorrow. So to have that visibility, earlier people used to call suppliers, they used to ask that what are the stock available at your end, will you be able to fulfill tomorrow additional requirement? So then what Maruti did is Maruti developed a platform named as finished good monitoring, wherein supplier used to put data of finished good available at their end, and the buyer had a real-time access to that data. So if any change has to be made, they can decide based on the data available with them, rather calling the suppliers. So these are the few examples or technology-driven initiative which automotive industry is taking as of now. Thank you.
Thank you. So basically you're driving visibility through that and responsiveness of supply chain is going up. So Shilpa, in terms of moving on, is that how you are even using technology to, let's say, improve supplier resilience, because that's also an important part.
So again, I will come back to the same point. We are also making use of, different tools to have predictive analysis about supplier, supply chain issues and disruption, which we see, especially for fuel. This information comes really handy because fuel is something which is, changing very frequently. Mm-hmm. So, and we have an airline that without fuel, our aircraft can't fly. So we have to have that, analysis and that data always ready. So we are extensively using it for not only for fuel, for anything and everything. For example, you must have seen the pilots carrying those bags. That's not a fashion statement. So they carry a whole lot of manuals, right? If you must have seen manuals which they have to refer to when they are in cockpit in case of any issue. If you have seen the Tom Hanks movie, he's reading manuals, yes. So now that manual is on iPad. So you can imagine the kind of technology and airline and aviation we people are using. This is just one example. If we talk about number of processes, crew rostering, pilot rostering is a highly technical and very sophisticated work which is highly regulated. We just can't move even a dot there. So the kind of technology and digitization we are using there, it's unimaginable. So what I can say, yes, if we talk about technology and digitization, AI, we are the one who are really very extensively using it. And which has really made our life very easy in a way. Like earlier there used to be, people used to have Excel sheets and put formulas in terms and condition, run macros, like this crew should not fly more than 20 hours and all those things. Now everything is technically driven. So definitely we are making a big use of it.
No, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
But that's an industry where technology has to be leveraged.
It is very much there. In fact, it's not only there for, we know what kind of, predictive behavior we can expect from even customers. We have the complete, algos running in behind. Customer happiness team working in. We know what is the kind of problem we can foresee. So we are using this data, these tools extensively. So definitely it's a big role to play. Yeah.
Absolutely. So similarly, Kirat, again in your industry, the out of stock is just out of question. You need to have the very high reliability. So even the supplier side, how we are leveraging technology to build resilience. And
I'll give an example, not on upstream, downstream. I think how technology is helping us is we have a lot of patient deliveries happening because our products need to be delivered at patients' home. And how eventually we've seen technology helping is with this data-driven information, what you can do is there is a mobile van which goes to like 4 or 5 patients on a delivery. So you need to make a schedule. And this was all being made looking at the route, right? They used to look at, okay, how many patients are in the same route. But eventually, I think what technology has differentiated is that you can design a route basis the timings as well. You can see what time the traffic is at its peak, what time the traffic will slow down, and you can possibly make more deliveries within the same van and the same driver can deliver. So I think it's a very small example, but when you look at the size of patient base that we deliver across different part of the world, I think this has made a huge difference. There were so many constraints, and the predictability was a big challenge. Like every time there is patient calling you, my stocks were to be reached at 3 p.m. It's 5 p.m. and the only answer was the driver is stuck. Now they can be traffic reasons, they can be something else or the other happening. But at least with the technology and the data information that you have, the system can give you the scheduling and make it more efficient on how you want to make deliveries. One, your service commitment went up. Second, the patient satisfaction or the customer satisfaction levels increased because they got a better service commitment and the delivery on time was much better. And third, you were making efficiency was there. So when we were talking today on in different panels was ROI. I don't think so. It has to be anywhere near ROI. It's the value creation you do because you are saving money, you're optimizing your supply chain, but what you're doing is you are creating a value with your patient, your brand image, because you're making sure you are delivering within the service commitment that you're offering to customer. So it's a value creation if you look at overall, and I don't think so. If you talk to board or anyone, if you shift this conversation from ROI to what value creation as a supply chain you can deliver, I think many of the business cases can be just passed very easily.
No, thank you so much, Kirat. That is classic example of how you are leveraging technology to create the resilience across the supply chain. So because we have limited time, we will just wrap it up here.